Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another weekly update on the Gaza War with JINSA's distinguished panel of retired IDF Major Generals. We're delighted to be joined by Major General and former Israeli National Security Advisor Yaakov Amidror, Major General, former Director of Operations, and JINSA Julian and Jenny Josephson, Senior Vice President for Israeli Affairs, General Yaakov Aish, and former Israeli Air Force Commander and JINSA Distinguished Fellow, Major General Amikan Norkin. Thank you all for joining us. I hope all of you and everyone in our audience who observes had a good Seder, is having a good Passover. I feel like we have a lot to talk about in the weeks since we've last convened. A lot has happened on various fronts. Last week we did meet to discuss the unprecedented Iranian attack on Israel with over 300 drones and missiles, and the remarkable defense of Israel, mounted not just by Israel's air defenses, but by cooperation with the United States and other partners. Maybe I wanted to turn first to you, General Norkin. If you could tell us sort of about the aftermath of that attack, the threat perception in Israel. Is there the expectation of further Iranian attacks? What is the Israel-Iran tensions like right now? Have they abated since that attack?
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity. As I did in my last webinar when I talked about it and present some of the video clips, I think that in the Air Force, we usually say that if you prepare yourself in Friday, you can do the mission in Saturday. So it's like the Saturday evening family dinner. So we prepare ourselves for, let's say, the last 6 years for scenarios that might happen, not like this one, but the Iranian proxies try to launch drones and cruise missiles more than once. And under the American umbrella, we build a very good relations between the Israeli Air Force and the Air Forces in the neighborhood. And we build, let's say, the operational and the intelligence procedures. And I think that in this event, they work quite well. Of course, with the very good cooperation between the IDF and the American military and others that act around the Israeli border. And as we all know, no one of those cruise missiles or drone penetrate or cross the Israeli border. And from the ballistic missiles, the Arrow present amazing capabilities to intercept such an amount of missiles, and only, let's say, 4%, 4 missiles, I'm sorry, enter to the airspace of Israel, and they did no damage. So once we present such an, let's say, success, we should prepare. First of all, we should learn the lessons, and there are many lessons, and then we should prepare ourselves for the future, because now our enemies understand the Israeli defense capabilities, and they are going to challenge us in the next time, maybe in the much more difficult or harder scenario.
General Amador, let me ask you. The Iranians claimed that they had rewritten the rules in the region, and that they would respond to any Israeli aggression or attacks against their interests. Have they rewritten the rules? Are the rules different now after the Iranian attack? Or did Israel's successful defense thwart those Iranian claims?
No one knows. It's a question without an answer. The answer will be, the question will be really asked and will be stands for a test only when Israel decide to kill another Iranian in Syria or somewhere else around us. And after that, the reaction of the Iranians will determine the success of or the failure of the new rules. So I don't have an answer to that question. And as I said, I think that even the Iranians don't have an answer to this question. We will see after the first time that Israel will kill an Iranian. The truth is that the question will be answered before that when the intelligence will bring to the table the ability to kill some Iranians or one Iranian around Israel, and the question will be asked in the cabinet room. Okay, what will be the reaction of the Iranians? And if because of the reaction, the probable reaction, Israel will not make the attack, it means that the Iranians succeeded. If Israel decide to kill the Iranians, the question will be moved into the cabinet rooms of the Iranians.
But today, if I may ask, at the Israeli media, there's some news that the Iranian decided to move the headquarters and the Iranian soldier from the Israeli border far to the eastern part of Syria. So maybe this is part of your question, Blaise.
Well, let me ask you.
But there is a problem that the Iranians are moving forces or people. It's not forces. For a long time, they don't have forces in Syria. They have experts and
advisors.
Some advisors. Yes, thank you. They move them out of the area for a long time. It's not because of the attack. It was before the attack. But if it be something different, they remove facilities and so on and so forth, it may be a good signal that they understand that they don't want to be asked the question, okay, what do you do now? The Israelis succeeded to kill someone, what do you do? I mean, both sides will be more cautious, and the question will be asked twice. Once when we decide or decide not to kill an Iranian when we have the opportunity, and the second time when the Iranians have to decide what they do because of this killing if we did it.
If you were still the National Security Advisor, General Ahmed Dror, and you were presented with this opportunity, what would your advice to the Prime Minister be now? Do you take the opportunity?
When I was the National Security Advisor, my main dream and pray was that no one from the outside will give you advices without knowing all the details.
Fair enough. Also in the meantime, last Friday.
But I think that if we have a good target, someone which was to be killed, I mean, he deserved to be killed, we should do
it. Potentially, speaking of good targets, last Friday it was reported that there were explosions in Iran as well as in Iraq and in Syria. Have not been claimed by anybody. Does that change the dynamics at all? Does that impact Iranian thinking?
No, I think that the undercover or the explicit, let's call it, everyone can say, I don't know who did it, and so on and so forth. These are not the operations that connected to the new equation, supposed to be new equation. That will continue. They will do to us. We will do to them. Whatever everyone can deny. When there is deniability, it's easier. I'm speaking about operations in which it is clear, even if we don't admit, it is clear that an Israeli kinetic force was used to kill someone in the Levant, in the area which is around Israel. It's that Israel is not going after the proxies, that Israel is going after the senders of the proxies. If that is clear, the problem is in the Iranian code.
Let me ask about this non-explicit action, which, as I understood, resulted in an air defense system blowing up near Natanz, near the Iranian Natanz nuclear facility. What sort of message does that send to the Iranians, and could it lead to the Iranians, if the message is that their nuclear facilities are maybe more vulnerable and their defense is less effective than they thought, could that have the unwanted effect of leading them to speed up their nuclear work?
Again, these questions are without answers. I don't know. I think that the Iranians don't know. It's something that might happen. They might come to the conclusion, okay, the only way to deter the Israelis is to have nuclear capability, military capability. But the process is not for tomorrow morning. Even if they have all the materials, the enriched uranium that they need, the process of building the bomb is a long one. It's not for tomorrow morning. Do they ready to take the risk to begin it, to be exposed by the American intelligence, by the Israeli intelligence, and then to deal with the consequences? This is the question. It's not connected to the attack near Natanz. With all due respect to the success of the Air Force, it's not in this level of strategic importance that it will change the attitude of the Iranians. The Iranians might decide to do it because they understand that this is the best umbrella that they can buy. But at the same time, they have to take into consideration that there is long time, I don't know how much, but long time during which they will be exposed to reaction by us or by the Americans.
General Aish, let me change the subject and ask you about a bit of good news over the recent days, which is the passage and now I think signing into law by President Biden of the supplemental aid package, which includes a little over $14 billion for Israel. And the announcement, I think, separately that the administration was looking to provide an additional $1 billion in additional assistance to Israel. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in those packages, or how quickly it can actually benefit and help the Israeli war effort?
Okay, so without going into all the details behind it, it's a very important message, very much connected to the previous subject we have discussed, and to the region. This is one of the strategic implications of the last war and the last escalation with Iran. Having said that, it's another proof of the relations between Israel and the US. And when you are taking it to the operational level and asking yourself what both sides are going to achieve from it, definitely the Israeli air defense and the joint cooperation vis-a-vis ballistic missiles defense threat and many other new capabilities is going to enjoy that support. The stockpiles, both in Israel and elsewhere, are going to enjoy that support, and some new capabilities like laser missiles defense is going to enjoy it as well. It's very substantial. And when you are thinking about the climate, about the atmosphere, that the decision was made, and you would fast backwards, a month ago, definitely it's a strategic win for Israel, for the US and the other partners that took a significant part in the last, I would say, campaign against the the attack coming from Iran. I would conclude it by saying that what we have seen that attack is more for less from the Iranians, and whoever retaliated decided to prove that he can do it with less for more. You are on silent mode.
With this latest package, General Aish, are there still significant requests or significant needs that the IDF has for U.S. assistance?
Definitely, what we are talking about is immediate needs. I've already mentioned some of them, like the air and missile defense stockpiles that have to be replenished. However, when it comes to some other capabilities, some other munitions, specifically PGMs and other capabilities, there is room for, I would say, accelerated additional support. Not mentioning the issue with the platforms, and I can go to the whole list, which General Norkin knows better than everyone over here. But there is an immediate need not only for replenishment, but for other platforms like different squadrons of F-35s and F-15, helicopters, attack helicopters, and obviously the KC-46s that are so relevant right now. And this is, the major items. When you are digging in, you would find many other capabilities that are so relevant that I can think about. But this is something right now that is under discussion between the Israeli MOD and the DOD. I've met one of the high officials in the MOD, and it's on the table in a very open manner, looking towards the next 5 to 10 years as a plus-up, not only within the framework of the last MOU.
And General Norkin, I believe there's a package being discussed for more F-15s. Is that correct?
Yeah, we already discussed the new squadron of F-15 and the third squadron of the F-35, but we are speaking about the American decision. Unfortunately, today, because of the political environment in Israel, there are some obstacles in our system. And unfortunately, after so many years there, we are waiting for such a support. Our government didn't vote about those decisions yet. So it's an internal issue inside the Israeli government that we should solve.
Understood. Let me ask General Amidror about recent developments that seem to suggest that there is an increasing approach towards a Rafa operation. We've heard about the mobilization of additional brigades and Israeli meetings in Egypt and with American counterparts. Can you go ahead, General?
Before that, if I may, one remark: we are more than thankful to the Americans for the additional support. The government of Israel has a plan to dedicate and to allocate another 230 billion shekel to the IDF. The IDF got out of it 80 billion. And about the other 150, there is, as General Norkin said, there is an argument within the political guys how to do it and where to invest and so on and so forth. So it's still, and within the Israeli system, the second payment of the 150 billion. About Rafa, the IDF finished its preparations.
Maybe, Amidro, we should mention, before getting into Rafa, another, let's say, effect between Israel and Iran is the Russian activities. And maybe it might interest some of our audience that after this round, let's say, the Russian government decided to support Iran with new Sukhois. So they got a better aerial platforms and with new air defense systems. So we talked more than once about the competition between two groups, the American groups and the Russian-China group, and this is another example for that. And once someone took out the most advanced air defense system that defend Natanz without the Iranian understand how it's happened to them, the Russians are immediately support them with new ammunition. And this is something that we should remember, and we should plan our force build-up plans that can be, let's say, we can deal with all those new capabilities that enter to the region.
In a way, it is going back to the Cold War, during which Israel was in the first line, dealing
Exactly.
with the Russian technology, finding solutions to the Russians' technology, and ready to sacrifice coping with it. So it's bring us back to this situation in which we are coping with the Russian technology before anyone else, and we know that we will pay the price, and we will share the knowledge with others. And here it's in one side it's a new threat to Israel, the Sukhoi 35 and the new anti-missile systems that the Russians are providing the Iranians. The Iranians are paying for that. It's clear. For the Russians, it's not just the supporting the Axis; it's also a good business. And Israel is again the one which will do the job, because it is our necessity to find the solutions, and we probably will find, as we did with the SA-300, as General Norkin just mentioned. We have to be careful because every operation like that is enhancing the ability of the Iranians to understand their weak points, and they can make the system better in the future. And we have to be very careful with what we do and what we are exposing in our capabilities. But anyhow, it's bring us back to the days of the Cold War. I agree with Norkin. It's a new situation, but it's an old one. About Rafa.
If I could just ask a question, staying with that,
Yeah.
General Amador, do we have? So I assume that you were referring to Iran getting the S-400. So it was the S-300 missile defense system, and that was destroyed in Natanz. Iran is now upgrading to the S-400. Do we have a time frame for when those might get delivered to Iran?
And we will have to find exactly what they are providing them, because under the same numbers, there are different kind of systems. So we have to work very hard to find what exactly will be handled to the Iranians in the future. We don't know it. And even if we have the number, it doesn't mean anything. We have to learn what specifically they are giving them. Going back to Rafa, the IDF finished its preparations. The IDF is ready. We exchanged the regular brigades that we had in the area, blocking the movement between the north and the south in the what we call Netzarim corridor, with other brigades. And and the preparation were finished. It will be two-stage operation. The first stage will be to move more than 1 million Palestinians from where they are now, around Rafa, to other places. The Egyptians and the Emirates and build some safe havens in the more to the center of the Gaza Strip. We provided many tents to the people there, and the operation begin with a special operation to move the population, and only then the military intervention will begin. Parallel to the moving of the civilians, probably the Air Force will have to prepare the area. The special forces will go to some strike inside and outside, but the big real operation will begin only after moving the civilians from the area. Most of the civilians, not all, most of the civilians from the area. How long it will take, I don't know, probably 2-3 weeks. And then the operation itself, another 2-3 months. And it will include not just Rafa, but also refugee camps around the center, in the center of the Gaza Strip. Both of them, it's two battalions of Hamas, which we didn't dismantle yet.
General Aish, there's been resistance to a Rafa operation from the United States, from the Egyptians, from others. I know there have been discussions in recent days between Israel and some of its international partners. Do you have a sense of if there's agreement now with the United States, with the Egyptians? Where do they stand?
Well, I think one of the major strategic changes in the last 2 weeks is the fact that the red light coming from the US, I would say, become more like a greenish. And this is one element. The other one, I think the level of coordination between Israel and Egypt is much better right now. And when you are adding it to the operational readiness described by General Amidro, I think we are basically there. But I think we are losing the context because we are dealing here with the technical and operational details. The issue is, the big question is, are we going to achieve our strategic goals once these 4 battalions are dismantled? And I'm not sure that the answer is yes. And we'll have to be very careful when we are analyzing the strategic goal. Basically, we have achieved most of the missions when it comes to the military capabilities of Hamas, and we are going to complete it in Rafah. However, in terms of military leadership, I'm not sure that we are there. In fact, I think we are far from what we wanted to achieve. And in terms of infrastructure, we did, I think, most of the work, and we are going to complete the rest. But in terms of who is managing the Gaza Strip right now and who is distributing the humanitarian aid flooding into Gaza in the last months, it's still Hamas. And in terms of control, they still have a level of control in those villages and cities. And we have seen it in the last week demonstrated in one of the villages, never mind the name. So I think this is the major context. And it's not only about going into Rafah, completing the mission about the 4 battalion. And when you are adding on that pile the hostages case, which is negotiated at the same time, concurrently, by the Israeli and the American, the other teams, you can understand how complicated it is. And this is why we are delayed. And this is only when we are looking towards Gaza, without mentioning the north, without mentioning those who were evacuated from their houses for more than 6 months. I'm talking about more than 60,000 Israelis that are not back to their villages. and not to mention the fact that they cannot live their life. They are living in hotels and elsewhere. So the broader context here have to be mentioned, and when we are dealing with the strategic goals and the purpose of this war, we have to bear it in mind, and to add it to all the complexities that we have discussed in the last 30 minutes.
General,
Last
is
just
please.
last word about the humanitarian aspect. It was a big issue on the table, and I think the way it was addressed by the IDF, the MOD, and the US is a very good proof that when you are going to address something, you can solve it. And I'm not just talking about the JLOC, the Joint Logistics Over the Shore project that the US military is building in Gaza. I'm talking about the fact that trucks are bringing into Gaza humanitarian aid in quantities that practically have broken the black market managed by Hamas. And hopefully we will see soon, the other equipment like tents that will allow the mobilization that General Amidro mentioned from Rafa into safe zone for the civilians, which will allow us to work as we did in other villages, also in Rafa, Shabura, Brazil, and the neighborhoods that have to be taken care of.
Thanks, General. I was actually just going to ask you if you could provide us some more detail on this, what you call the flood of humanitarian assistance, both the increase in numbers of trucks entering, as I understand it, and now have any of the northern border crossings been activated, and what the status of the pier that the U.S. is building is. If you could give us some more details, please.
You don't have to go into the details. Look at the pictures from the seashore of Gaza today, and see the population of Gaza using the weather to celebrate in the seashore of Gaza. And understand that all the propaganda about femina and so on and so forth in Gaza is not connected to the reality. Look at the numbers of the people who are celebrating now on the seashore of Gaza, playing and going in and out the water, like Tel Aviv seashores as well.
I would add on that. I don't want to drag you again into numbers when it comes to tankers and trucks, and we are talking just trucks with food. We are talking about thousands of trucks that were already entered the Gaza Strip from different directions. But let me take you into some exotic demonstrations. 2 water pipelines feeding clean water into Gaza, something that they didn't have before, as an addition to more than 1,500 trucks of water that were brought into the Gaza Strip. Electricity. Think about the grid lines that were attacked by Hamas and fixed by us. And now Israel is again providing electricity to Gaza, and so on and so forth. And you can go into all those details. Basically, the best way to look at it, to my humble opinion, is to ask what is the price of oil or flour or sugar now in Gaza compared to the prices 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You are going to be surprised. It is 1/10.
And returning to the broader strategic context, as you put it, General Aish, of Hamas maintaining control, we heard reports and saw videos alleging in recent days that Yahya Sinwar has come out in public.
No, the picture of Sinwar, the picture of Sinwar is from 2017.
That's all. All right. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Are they accurate? Is it propaganda? Is it indicative of how Sinwar and Hamas are feeling right now?
No, he's
No,
still.
we don't know. I don't know what is the intelligence, but the picture itself is from 17.
Got it.
But Blaise, I think that the more important thing that comparing to how many trucks and all the details that we talked about is that the center of gravity moves now to Egypt. And after 6 months that Qatar managed, let's say, from the civilians and population perspective, the Qatars managed the hostages negotiation. Now Egypt become the main player, and I think that this might be the potential for a new deal, maybe. And it's not just talking about the hostages, which is a strategic goal and target for us. It might affect the plans for Gaza, and I think that it's going to affect also the northern border. So for the next few days, I think that the main issue is how Egypt can affect and manage the negotiation and to bring the Hamas back to the table. This is the most important thing.
I want to ask you about how that might impact the northern border in just a second, but staying with the Gaza piece of this, has there been an agreement between Israel and Egypt about how to secure the Philadelphia corridor and how to secure the Egypt-Gaza border?
Well, I think I don't know any. I got no details about such an agreement. We all know that General Halevi and Ronen Bar, they spent a day in Cairo and they talked with the Egyptian. I'm sure that the Philadelphia and the border might be the part of those discussions.
It's very important to understand for the Egyptians, unlike the Americans, the problem is not that we are going into Rafa and we will destroy Hamas. From their point of view, it's a good goal and it should be done. They're afraid from a situation in which we push the
Palestinians into
the Palestinians towards the Sinai Peninsula. They don't want to be part of the Israeli plan to make another, refugee operation of the Palestinians. And I can understand them. They are very sensitive to that, and it can be understood. The Egyptians do not want to be looked like they are part of the Israeli plot. And for them, it's very important that it will be clear that we are not pushing the Palestinians into the Sinai Peninsula. And that will be agreed and we'll find a solution to that. I think all the other issues are easier to agree upon. And the technical problem of Philadelphia will be solved, even if Israel forces will have to go in and out to control the Palestinian side of the corridor, to see that nothing is smuggled in by anyone from Egypt, and it is not against the interest of the Egyptians.
Blaise, I would say that it's clear to us and it's clear to the Egyptians that they are part from the future permanent solution for Gaza in terms of securing that part of the border. And whatever we are going to decide to do on the Philadelphia axis, it has to be done with them and at least with the coordination with them. It's clear to both of us, and that's why it's so important. Second issue is the refugees, as General Amidor mentioned it. And the third issue is the subterranean tunnels exist under Philadelphia, and we know that they are still there, at least some of them. for different purposes. And we have to take them in consideration, because without dealing with them, it's like, not cutting the lines of supplies for Hamas, and they'll be able to continue and to import into Gaza whatever capabilities they need in order to replenish their capabilities. And that's why it's so important to do everything with full coordination. And then, on the other hand, to make sure that our interest and the Egyptian interest is met in that sense.
General Norkin, if I could return to you and ask you to explain what you were suggesting as the connection between Egypt and the northern arena.
Well, as we all understand, and we saw the media in the last few weeks, Israel did a lot of operational activities over Lebanon, and we already killed almost 300 Hezbollah terrorists and commandos, and we destroyed some of very important assets and systems like air defense systems and a lot of rockets, launchers, and others. And I think that if there is, let's say, such an agreement in Gaza, and might be some ceasefire, it will bring again the potential to achieve an agreement, political agreement led by the United States between Lebanon and the international community. Our goal is to push away all the terrorists from the border, and we cannot accept any threat near the border, and by that to change the situation, the security situation in our northern border, and of course to arrange our forces in a different way in the border, and to bring back all the citizens that went out from the villages and from the city of Kiryat Shmona. So I think that if there will be a ceasefire in the south, it's like a very good potential for also some agreement between the international community and Lebanon about pushing Hezbollah north to the Litani River.
Up till now, there is no any movement in the negotiations of Mr. Hochstein and the Lebanese and us, and if it should be judged by the situation of today, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but the negotiation stopped since.
No, they continue the negotiation. They continue to negotiate.
Okay.
And why hasn't there been any movement? Certainly, Israel seems to have been quite effective in putting military pressure on Hezbollah. There was the announcement, I think, just yesterday or 2 days ago
But the minute it will be a ceasefire, the pressure will diminish, and they will come back. If we be a ceasefire and Israel cannot continue its operation, which is done fantastically by the ground forces with and the air force, just look at the number of people of Hezbollah which have been killed. I mean, it's more Hezbollah terrorists have been killed without moving 1 meter from the fence than Israel lost in Gaza in the whole ground operation. I mean, you probably more than 300. They admit about 280 something, but it's probably more than 300, probably close to 350. But that is true about today. All the success which was mentioned is about today. the minute it will be a ceasefire without an agreement, just a ceasefire because there is a ceasefire in Gaza, so we are stopping launching rockets and missiles into Israel, as Hezbollah, there is no any obligation. The forces might come back.
This is not what I meant. I meant that it will bring potential to move forward with the negotiation. I'm not sure that it might happen. I think it's 50-50, but today, as General Amidor said, there is nothing happened. And maybe the ceasefire in the south will affect the northern front.
So what is missing to get a deal in the north? Is it even more Israeli military pressure?
No, it's not there. We are very successful in what we are doing near the border and in some cases far from the border. For example, the bombing of some facilities near Baalbek, which are connected to the abilities of Hezbollah, for example, anti-air defense systems. But Hezbollah says we will stop launching rockets and missiles into Israel the minute that it will be a ceasefire in Gaza. But if there is no agreement, they will come back. So what is the benefit? So technically, you are right. The ceasefire in Gaza might bring kind of quietness to the north, but it is a quietness that we cannot agree with because it will bring back the Radwan forces to the fence and allowing Hezbollah to build back its capability, which we succeeded to destroy, to push to the north. Yeah, this is the problem, that there is no any agreement about the obligation of Hezbollah to something.
I'm not meaning that we should accept ceasefire from Hezbollah once we got ceasefire from Gaza. But once there is no fighting for a week or two, maybe more, in the South Front, it's a very good opportunity to start the negotiation again. And the pressure now is a military pressure, and I think that we should have more pressure over the state of Lebanon, not just a military threat. And I think that there are many ways to push the Lebanon government, although they cannot have any military capabilities and they cannot enforce Hezbollah. Hezbollah is well around what is the population, especially the Shia population, is feeling in Lebanon.
Blaise, I would describe it in different words and say that from the operational perspective, it's quite a success. Strategically speaking, we didn't achieve our goal in the north, period. In terms of killing Hezbollah commanders and operatives, we are very effective. In terms of defending the border with Lebanon and Hezbollah, very effective. In terms of pilling and taking significant capabilities from Hezbollah by the Israeli Air Force, we are very effective. In terms of strategy, we are not there. In fact, we are far from there. We have 60,000 Israelis out of their houses, uprooted from their villages. And that's why there is a discrepancy here. You know, Amidor and Norkin describing very accurately the operational achievements, and you can see that strategically speaking, there is a missing link that have to be complemented, and there are two ways, either by the Israeli government, defining a new strategic goal for Lebanon, or via our partners, the US. And I think we have to bear in mind two other facts. Hezbollah decided to break the ceasefire on October 7th. They decided to do that. And when they decided to do that, and they have continued until today in doing it, they have proven that deterrence as a significant factor was shattered, Israeli deterrence. And we have to think about it and rebuild our strategy in order to achieve that or to achieve something else.
Can you give us
the main challenge of the government of Israel within the next few months will be in three areas. One is deal or not deal with the hostages. And the Egyptians are probably bringing a new deal, and that will postpone Rafa. It will be less for more from our point of view. Less hostages will be released, and more prices are demanded by Hamas. This is the first decision. Should we go on that or not? What can be understood from the hints that if will be a deal on the table, Israel will agree. The second decision is how to do Rafa, to do it with all forces as it was done in the north, or to do something which is less to satisfy the Americans and others. I think that we should do it with the most.
We should do it right.
Yes, the forces which are needed to the job, and not the forces which are needed to the propaganda.
Exactly.
And third, and the most problematic decision is what to do in the north, and we might find ourselves in a situation in which we don't have any other choice, in spite the fact that it is not the best situation for us to wage a war against the Hezbollah, to do it immediately after the war in Gaza would be less extensive. Because we cannot live in a situation in which 80,000 Israelis are out of their homes. It's 57 had been evacuated by the government, and another 30 evacuated themselves. That cannot continue in a state like Israel. It cannot continue. If you want to understand the number, is that 30 times the number that I told you, and it is the number in America. Think about Texas refugees because invasion or rockets coming from Mexico. So it will lead to a war, a big one, very problematic one from our point of view, which will destroy Lebanon. At the end, Lebanon will look like Gaza. There is no any alternative. And we don't want it, but we might be in a situation in which we cannot postpone it, and we have to do it.
So just to clarify on that last point, General Amidror, sort of the sequence that I think we've talked about, that Israel has talked about when it comes to Lebanon until recently, was in the near term, restore security by pushing the Radwan forces back so they can't fire missiles and citizens can return to their homes, and that allows time to finish the operation in Gaza for the IDF to rest and resupply, and then in some later point in time, whether that's months or several years from now, Israel would face the challenge of what to do about the big strategic threat from Hezbollah, namely the rocket arsenal. What I understand you to be saying now is Israel might not have the benefit of that time. It might not be able to sort of solve the problem in the near term. It might have to solve the big Hezbollah problem right away.
Yeah, if that will be the situation, the probability of a big war is very high. Even if we decide to begin it with a stage in which we just pushed Radwan to the north, the other side probably will decide to broaden the war, and we will have to face it and to do whatever is needed.
Thank you. That is a very sobering prospect. In the couple minutes that we have left,
if I may, one remark. Ironically, the IDF is more ready to war in Lebanon than he was ready for a war in Gaza in the 8th of October. because during the last years, that was the focus of the IDF, from the intelligence point of view, from the operational point of view, from the training point of view, and all the other preparations which are needed. So in a way, in spite the fact that it is not a good time after a long war in Gaza, the economy is not in a fantastic situation because of the war. The amount of munition in the stores of both the United States of America and Israel, and the war in Lebanon, we need a lot of ammunition. In spite of all these weaknesses, we might be in a position in which we don't have time. And as I said, we have one benefit or two benefits. One, the IDF is in very high readiness after the war it's the best training that we had. And the second thing is, as I said, that the IDF is in his mindset is more ready to war in Lebanon than in Gaza.
Well, thank you. I'm sure that we'll be discussing this a lot more in future webinars. In the 2 minutes we have left, I wanted to return to one thing that I think, General Amador, you mentioned about how Israel is now returning to its Cold War status as a tester of Russian military technology. And I wanted to point out that Israel would not be the first country to be dealing with the S-400. The Turks bought a couple of the S-400s themselves, so maybe there's opportunity for lessons learned with the Turks. But also, the Ukrainians have proven to be on the front line testing Iranian military technology with all the drones they're shooting down. So I know, General Norkin, is there any sort of lessons learned being exchanged between Israel and NATO countries, or Israel and Ukraine in dealing with similar threats?
And Turkey, exchange with Turkey.
Well, if there's any exchange with Turkey, I'd be interested to hear that too. Other than an exchange of flotillas.
Yeah. First of all, this is not a new situation, because at the last, let's say, 5 years, more than 5 years, 6 years, since the Russian military deployed S-300 and S-400 to Syria, we are dealing with the best Russian technology. So I think that maybe the only nation around the world that fly with F-35 almost every day under S-300 threat, S-17, S-15, S-22, all those best air defense system, Russian air defense systems, is the Israeli Air Force. So we are in the front, and we are using the best American technology, and we share all the lessons with our best friends, the American Air Force. So there are many lessons that we can share with the American Air Force in Europe, of course, from the war in Ukraine. As we share in the past, because those drones, the first Iranian drones tried to fly over the north part of Israel in 2005, 20 years ago. And we spoke about those drones for many years. And not so many nations listened to us. And now the European nation understand that the drones and the cruise missiles are a real threat. Like they see it every night in Kiev, in Ukraine. So there is a lot to learn between allies.
Thank you, General Norkin, General Amador Aish. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thanks to everyone who tuned in.
Thank you,
and
Chag Sameach.
Look forward to having you next week. And
thank
next
you,
year in
Blaze.
Jerusalem.
Guys, Laila Tov.
Bye.
Chag Sameach.
Laila Tov. Bye.